Welcome to Stop the Fight, episode 41, and we are talking about the biggest weekend left in this year for boxing. Let's go! All right, guys, let's start. We got fights on Friday on the Zone, ESPN Plus, sorry, and on Saturday, the Zone. We got fights all around the world. We got Friday, Montreal, Ramirez, however you want to pronounce it, Canada, Arthur Beterbiev versus Marcus Browne at light heavyweight. This is for Beterbiev's WBC IBF titles. Now, big fight. I think, and the odds will tell you this, of course, that Marcus Browne is being written off a little bit here. And partly, I believe there is a little bit of an overrated streak with the way some of the fans are reacting towards Beterbiev. It's not that I necessarily believe that Beterbiev is not a good fighter. He is a good fighter. And it's not that I believe that Marcus Browne is some kind of unbeatable, boxing god. Of course, we've seen him lose to Jean Pascal. As a matter of fact, the big upset. As a matter of fact, it's an upset that we made money on. Why? For no other reason that I've always liked Jean Pascal, and similar to Gabriel Rosado, I just bet on him. Well, here on DraftKings, we're getting Arthur Beterbiev at minus 1,100 versus Marcus Browne at plus 650. Guys, I don't need to tell you what I think about this fight, as you already know. I've told you that I don't really, unless there's a champion that's really bad, a plus 700 or plus 650, guys, that's a little bit too wide for me. It's a little too wide. Marcus Browne, 24-1 with 16 knockouts. He's got some pop. Southpaw, 6'1". Staten Island, New York City, my neck of the woods. I guess Beterbiev, now 16-0 with 16 knockouts. No man has seen the decision with this guy. Everyone's been knocked out. But has he always looked good? Not entirely. I mean, at least it's not so much that he hasn't looked good. It's that he doesn't necessarily strike me as someone who should be going off at minus 1,100 against Marcus Browne. This is one of those things where I think that the hype is leading to some funky odds out here. I do believe that, Beterbiev could get the stoppage against Marcus Browne, but I believe the odds are just too tasty for me to pass up. There are some fights, I told you, even last week. There's some underdogs, doesn't matter how under they look. It's not worth it. I believe this to be not one of those cases. I believe that Marcus Browne is a live dog. And a live dog is like a plus 200, plus 250, even plus 400. Let's say even as wide as plus 400. A live dog is not plus 700 or plus 650 or whatever the hell you can get him. Because I think if you take a three-way with the draw, you can get him at plus 700. But like right now I'm looking at him. Beterbiev by KO is going at minus 250. Now the reason why Beterbiev by KO is going so high as high as minus 250 is that. That's what everyone. He's never seen the decision. No man has lasted a full fight, regardless whether it be 4 rounds or 12 rounds or anything in between. No man has lasted the full fight against Beterbiev. But Beterbiev is also, he has some good wins, no doubt. Gvozdyk, first and foremost, I think is an exceptional win. An undefeated Gvozdyk was a very, very, very legit win. And I actually thought the fight was even going into the 10th round. I had it even before the 10th. As a matter of fact, I didn't have it even. I'm sorry. What am I talking about here? I had Gvozdyk winning the fight. Now, yes, of course, it looked like Beterbiev was coming on. It looked like Gvozdyk was going to eventually potentially succumb. I don't know if he was able to keep Beterbiev off him. So, it's a good win. It's not an asterisk win. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say that Gvozdyk was really winning the fight before the stoppage. No, it looked like he was coming on. it didn't look like he just got lucky. No, he caught him numerous times. Eventually, wilted him, and he went down numerous times in the 10th. Marcus Browne. Marcus Browne. He's got that win over Badu Jack, right? That's really his kind of claim to fame. Also, of course, beating Gabriel Campillo, who is one of those fighters that's pretty good, much better than his record would indicate, as well as Cornelius White. Those are pretty much the 3 wins that I look to when I think of him. He has the loss to, though, like I said, the one that we made money on, to Jean Pascal. And he lost in such a way where you would think, like, oh, look, him getting knocked out like that, that's gotta mean that Beterbiev is absolutely gonna win. Not necessarily. Why? Look at the way that those knockdowns happen in the fight, and forget about the fact that what's his name, Marcus Browne, was doing well outside of those knockdowns. Jean Pascal would get low and would counter wide over Marcus Browne's power shots. Beterbiev is not doing that. First of all, Beterbiev is not getting low. He doesn't do that. Beterbiev at 5'11" is going to be a little bit smaller than Marcus Browne. But I believe here, guys, I'm serious. I believe here that Beterbiev is a more straight-up fighter. He's going to go over there and try and knock Marcus Browne's head off, and he's going to be running into a lot of shots. I believe that's going to be the case whether or not Marcus Browne wins or loses this fight. I believe he will land very many straight left hands. He's a southpaw, by the way, guys. So I don't know if I made that clear. He's a southpaw. So he's going to be shooting that left hand. And Beterbiev, I think, is going to walk into it a few times. Because the angle here is going to matter, too, with the height. So, again, I'm not necessarily saying that Browne is going to win. I just believe that plus 650, minus 1,100, that's too wide, guys. That's way too wide. I don't like those kind of odds at all. So, again, I think it's a worthy look at that underdog. And, again, this is on Friday, actually. This is tomorrow. This is tomorrow in Montreal, which is nice. Yeah, and on Saturday then, we have, well, actually, this is not Saturday. Actually, tomorrow as well. I thought this was Saturday. But in Uzbekistan, in Tashkent, you have Michael Soro versus Israel Madrimov. And this is an interesting one, simply because the casinos have it priced right. Israel Madrimov is going at minus 260 on DraftKings, and Michael Soro is going at plus 205. And I believe that this is actually a legit test for the young man, for Madrimov, who early on looked very, very, very devastating. But as the competition has increased, he has had a little bit more problem. His power is not as explosive. And I think we're seeing, I don't want to say him running into a natural wall, but at 26 years old now, maybe we kind of see where that limit is. And someone like Michael Soro of France will, I think, be able to really give us a good look of where he's at. I think I'm going to sit this one out, but I do believe that is entirely reasonable to take Michael Soro in this kind of at a plus 205. One of the reasons being is, of course, is that it's a test fight for a prospect. Remember, there's so many prospects that look great in their first few fights and look great before they really step up competition, and their power looks unstoppable, and all this looks great. And then the second you get into some real good fighters, some real tested fighters like Mikhail Soro, you may run into a lot of trouble. Mikhail Soro's been there with a lot of guys. And like I said, this is, even Glenn Tapia. This is something that I believe that, those who are skeptical of Madrimov, I think, can feel confident in taking Michael Soro at the plus 205. Again, very interesting fight. I think if Madrimov gets through Soro, especially KOs him, I think we can go back on that hype train. But if I feel he will struggle, we may be able to see, again, you can still be a good fighter. Not every single good fighter wins a championship belt. Obviously I have to bring up guys like Luis Ortiz and Povetkin at heavyweight. Those guys never won a title, and not a full-fledged title. And, they're good fighters who just, will not win a title. And again, such is luck. So So I think maybe you may have something like that with Madrima, who may be a good fighter, but just around the 160 range may not enough, especially if the power is sapped up. Because if you look at the way he boxes, everything looks like it's a setup for power. So if the setup is for power and he doesn't deliver the power, you know, you kind of run into a little bit of an issue there, right? So that's also on Friday. And remember, because Tashkent's going to be like 7-8 hours ahead of time, you're probably going to be able to watch this at like 3 p.m. and then catch the Marcus Browne fight in your normal East Coast Standard Time if you're on the East Coast, American time. And then, of course, now we have then on Saturday, again, another full day of boxing around the world. We go to England first. Joseph Parker, Derek Chisora 2. Guys, I like Derek Chisora all the way over here. I like him all the way. And I know we spoke about what's his name, Parker's problems and his issues, and the trainer stuff and so on and so forth. Coming to America, coming to England, leaving New Zealand, getting new guidance, guys. I don't like it. And a minus 260. There's no way. I don't like that at all. I like Derek Chisora. I like plus 210. I think he stops Parker, as a matter of fact. Now, am I confident enough to take the under 10.5? No, I don't need to, because the under 10.5 is at plus 135. I believe if you're really looking to straddle this bet, you obviously take Chisora to win outright with Joseph Parker by decision at plus 140. Because I believe it'll probably be something similar. Is that you wind up getting good odds at Derek Chisora plus 210. That's almost 3 times your money. And then if you're a little bit afraid, you take the Joseph Parker by decision, which will pay you, 1.5 times your money almost. You bet 100, you bet 140. So again, by decision. But again, if Joseph Parker wins by KO or Derek Chisora wins by decision, you obviously, or draw, but in this case it would be a return. Draw would, Derek Parker. Joseph Parker winning by knockout would, of course, kind of sour our plans, or Chisora winning a decision. But I don't believe that's in the cards for us here. To tell you the truth, I believe that if this fight goes all the way, chances are small that Derek Chisora wins a decision. Oh, I'm sorry, we're covered. Derek Chisora wins a decision because we're just taking Derek Chisora outright. So really the only problem we would have here is Joseph Parker winning by KO. I don't think you can do it. I never believed in Joseph Parker's power at heavyweight. Yes, he was able to drop White. Yes, he was able to hurt Chisora. All those things are true, but it's easy because he's been able to hurt guys when they're exhausted. He doesn't seem to actually carry that much power. And with Derek Chisora, he's a little bit of having like a career recovery of sort, right? He's been looking good. Think about how good of a fight he gave to Usyk. I think I had that fight a draw. A draw, guys. Can you believe that for a second? Obviously, there were people saying, "Oh, there's no way," but Derek Chisora won the opening like 4 rounds. So, I think he's having a little bit of a career resurgence. Obviously knocking out David Price, beheading Arthur Spilka. Then having a very competitive fight against Usyk, extraordinarily close split decision draw, again a split decision loss to Parker, taking him down in the first round. Guys, I believe you can beat Parker. I really believe it. I believe Derek Chisora, he's a heavyweight, 37 years old. That's still fine. It's Joseph Parker who I think is having an identity crisis. So I'm taking Derek Chisora, guys. Taking him all the way. Sometimes you got to do it. I may not even strike. I think I'm going Derek Chisora outright. And that's just going to be that for me. Yeah. Now, of course, we have the rematch. There's not much press this time around. Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley 2. Who did the first fight help more? Did it help the young up-and-coming Jake Paul learn more boxing, learn to move, calm his nerves even more? Or did it help Tyron Woodley, which is an athlete, a fighter, explosive at that? Will he be less tentative? I'll be frank with you. I think this probably helped Jake Paul more. Jake Paul fought another real fighter and gained even more confidence. At points, I think he may have even stung Tyron Woodley. He knows the game plan. Will he get a stire this time? I don't know, but he sure as hell knows what to do, knows how to move. That's a very, everyone. I'm hearing some people saying, "Oh, Tyron Woodley, he's got to do this, he's got to do that." But guys, most of these same people thought that Tyron Woodley was going to completely knock out Jake Paul, and it wasn't even going to be a close fight. But that wasn't the case. Now, it wasn't. Regardless of whether or not, guys, regardless of whether or not you thought that Jake Paul should or should not have been competitive with him, he was. I did not, first of all, I do not know how you can have Tyron Woodley winning that fight. I thought best case scenario for Tyron Woodley, best case scenario game every single, and I've only seen that fight one time, but it was very obvious what happened in that fight. Tyron Woodley won 3 rounds. If you want to give Tyron Woodley every single round, he decided to throw anything more than like 2 punches. He lost 5-3. Best case scenario for him. And more likely he probably lost 6-2, maybe even 7-1. You gotta throw punches, guy. You can't win a fight without throwing punches. And here we have the odds have tightened, and at least on the over/under. With the under 6.5 going at plus 130, with the over 6.5 going at minus 160. Meaning that the casino believes that this fight is going the distance again. Maybe. If Jake Paul learns how to sit down on his punches, or if Tyron Woodley got better, I think this fight is actually probably going to end in the under 6.5 rounds. 6.5 rounds means you got to go through all 6. It's in the middle of the 7th round. This is an 8-round fight, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's an 8-round fight. Yeah, it's an 8-round fight. Jake Paul, minus 260. Tyron Woodley, plus 210. That looks about right to my eyes. I don't know if I'm going to play it. If I'm going to play it, I'm probably going to just take the under. 6.5 at plus 130. See, because I believe both guys probably got a little better, saw a little bit more. Tyron Woodley practices more boxing. Jake Paul practices boxing. He's a young gun. Like that's the thing, is there's a 39-year-old versus a 24-year-old. The 24-year-old is getting better and better and better all the time, almost by definition, right? And the 39-year-old, who's a fighter, who's athletic, is learning the boxing in and out more and more and more again. I think beating Tyron Woodley here, though, I think this would if he beats Tyron Woodley here convincingly, I think this puts an end of any more MMA fighter talk against Jake Paul, and I think it should, because now an MMA fighter would have had more or less a full half year to practice boxing. Now, I know he's a late replacement for Tommy Fury, but you got to admit that Tyron Woodley, with getting his name tattooed, probably is assuming he's going to get a boxing shot at Jake Paul again anyway, because he got the name tattooed on his finger. So you've been not practicing boxing for a long time. If you lose now, if an MMA fighter loses now, I think this has to close the book. At least for MMA fighters really want to. Like, Dana White doesn't want to see his fighters continue to get embarrassed by goddamn YouTube guys. There's just no way. There's no way. There is no YouTube fighter that's going to learn how to do some stuff and embarrass a boxer. Just no way in chance. No way in hell. Now, I know it's different sports, but like, you can't be losing boxing matches to a guy who started boxing like a year or two ago. But this is the thing, is when someone is athletic and really devotes himself to that sport. Jake Paul has now been boxing for like 3 or 4 years. Maybe I'm wrong. It's like 2 or 3 years. It's 2 years. It's 2 or 3 years nonstop. But like, look, if you're in the gym every day for 2 or 3 years, you're gonna learn a thing or two, guys. This is the case with whatever you want to do. You want to be a rock flipper. You want to be a gymnast. Whatever it is, you're a writer. You go in and you do that craft for 2 or 3 years. Even late in life, it doesn't matter. You go and do that craft for 2 or 3 years. For most days in the week, you're coming in doing it, vocals, whatever, playing guitar, whatever you want to do. You're going to get better. There's almost no way not to. The only way you don't get better, obviously, is if you don't keep increasing the difficulty level. But there still is those new gains you're going to get. You always hear guys working out. The first year, you're going to put on the most muscle. You're going to change your physique the most you're ever going to change in your life. Why? Because you go from nothing to something. And, Jake Paul, I think he's still eking out, due to the way the nature of the game works in boxing. He's still eking out those new gains, still the distance, still the nervousness. He was, you know damn well he was super nervous against Tyron Woodley. He knew that was a real fight, and he made it through it. His confidence now is going to be through the roof. You know, first he retired, but he's like, yo, I just beat an MMA fighter. I beat him pretty clear. He beat him very clear. I don't think there could be, like, I think it was a split decision, wasn't it? Or, yeah, someone gave what's it called? One of the judges gave Woodley the fight. That's insane. No way. No way. No way. So, you're more confident than ever. And now you have to fight the same guy. You already know what he's going to do. You know where his shots are. You beat him in every single way. You beat him at the distance game, in the foot game, at the movement game, at the jab game. This guy couldn't throw punches. He was snake bitten. So, I don't see why Jake Paul wouldn't be more confident. Now, of course, I could be wrong, but I believe I would be wrong in the way where Tyron Woodley would be able to probably stop him, which is why I like the under here, under 6.5. I don't even know if I'm going to bet here, to tell you the truth. Again, it's so hard to look at these fighters and to try and, like, it just seems like straight on gambling. Obviously, all bets are straight on gambling, but sometimes I think we can use our boxing mind to try and find some advantage, look for dogs, you know, whatever it is, over, unders, whatever. And I think it's difficult to do that here, and it's just completely, you know, just a complete gamble for us. So, you know, I don't know. But on that undercard, you know, I was going to mention that we have Amanda Serrano, who is in talks to fight Katie Taylor, maybe, which, again, is going to be a big thing. And now, finally, we have the final, well, not the final card, but the last card that I'm going to talk about is the Zurdo Ramirez fight on the zone. So, again, last we saw our boy Gilberto, he stopped Salvador Barrera in 4. I was really wrong on that bet. He really stopped Salvador Barrera, got him right the hell out of there. This guy's pretty legit at 175 pounds. Pretty legit. You know, we just have to see. Is he ready? I think he's ready for a title. I think there's enough messing around. Enough looking at it. You know, he's fighting against Yuneski Gonzalez, who recently lost against Gvozdyk. That's his most recent loss. He got losses against Shabransky and Jean Pascal. But if he gets through him, which I think he will absolutely get through him, I'm not even going to talk about the bets. This is pointless. It's going to be interesting where our boy can fit in the light heavyweight picture. Because I believe light heavyweight is one of those divisions that, you know, you can make a name for yourself. You can do it. You can definitely. The champs aren't unbeatable. Bivol undersized. Beterbiev, I think, is a little bit overrated. You know, I think you have really rugged guys like Joe Smith in there. But in and of itself, I do not believe that light heavyweight is a particularly overpowering division. So, things all for the open. Anyway, big weekend, the last big weekend of the year. There's still more boxing after this weekend, but this one kind of closes out a really fantastic year and a really great fall run. We've pretty much had nothing but boxing since September. It's been like 3 months of like good fights, week in, week out, pretty much, and 3-4 months. So, you know, I can always be happy. You know, I understand that the boxing schedule sometimes lightens up around New Year's, and that's okay. Although on New Year's we do get the awful pay-per-view card, but kind of interesting fight with Charles Martin and Luis Ortiz. Speaking of Luis Ortiz, talking about earlier in the show. So it's gonna be interesting, guys. Again, I'll speak to you guys after the weekend. We'll discuss the fights, and hopefully we've made some money. Remember, taking the underdogs here, Chisora and Marcus Browne. Let's go!